Hey, good day, everyone. I'm not going to be before you very long, but again, I need to get into the habit. I keep saying this. Oh my goodness. I need to write these things down as I get them because now I can't remember everything. But this was earlier in the day. Two things that came to mind. One was, and this actually was from yesterday and then just also today, but one was about stop using your kids. And then the other one today is about deadlines. So I'll talk briefly a little bit about the deadlines. I think it's First King. Excuse me. It's late in the day now. First King, chapter. I think it's First King chapter 20, verses 5 through 6, where it talks about God gave Hezekiah another 15 years because before then he was told to get his house in order, that he was about to die. And then Hezekiah went before the Lord and began to pray and remind the Lord of the things he's done. So the Lord gave him 15 more years. But I'm mentioning that because I don't know if I was in the kitchen doing something, but it's like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. You can make a comment or whatever. But I don't recall any deadlines in the Bible. Um, and it just made me think about how we put so much emphasis on deadlines. Like, let's say for our job, we always have deadlines to meet. But think about it, it's like deadlines kind of make it stressful. And of course, we have deadlines. When we were in school, okay, you have to turn this term paper in by, you remember the term papers? We had to write those term papers. This was way before computers. You had to use the encyclopedia and reference things in the library. It was just tedious back then. Now we have access to, the internet, and you can do a lot of research online. But anyway, what I thought about, excuse me, guys, like I said, it's a long day. It's basically the end of the day. But when I think about deadlines in the sense that we use them on earth, it's like the main purpose, and if you miss a deadline, right? Is it life or death? No, it may cost you more money, or it may cost some other things. Or, well, let's say with your health, they give you a deadline. Well, you need to get this done by such and such a time. And, again, I thank God for doctors, but their report is not the final report. I believe the report of the Lord. So I'm saying all that to say this. It's like we put so much emphasis on deadlines on earth. But again, as I think about scriptures I've read through in the Bible, I'm like, I cannot think of any deadlines, in the Bible. Now, we know we all have a time to depart from this earth, but even again, like I referenced in First Kings, I think it's First Kings chapter 20, even though God said his life would be taken, God extended that, gave him another 15 years. Um, I love that, we are not pressured. God does not pressure us. Of course, there's going to come a time. Um, I wouldn't say like he doesn't have deadlines, but like there's an expiration date, right? We all have an expiration date. Either we're going to have an expiration date or we're going to be raptured. Okay. But even Jesus, excuse me, does not know that, you know, the day or the time. It's when his father gives him the signal, okay? But again, I don't recall of any deadlines in the Bible. And I love it that God does not put you know, he does not put that kind of pressure and stress on us as we put on ourselves, like in the world, when it comes to our job, when it comes to health, when it comes to even food have an expiration date, right? I don't see it as a deadline, but we are so caught up in deadlines, especially in fast pace, in a corporate America. It's like you got to meet this deadline, or if you're building, because the bottom line is, when it comes to deadlines, it to me, and again, these are just my opinions, it is all about money. If we don't make this deadline, we're going to lose this much money. If we don't make this deadline, we're going to lose this client, blah, blah, blah. But I just love the fact that God does not require us to meet a deadline. Um, Now, there will be a time when we're going to run out of time, but it's not the same deadline that man requires. I hope this makes sense to you guys. If it doesn't make sense to you guys, it makes sense to me. And I'm just sharing my thoughts and this things. Like I said, sometimes I just have these conversations with God, or things will come to mind, and I'm just sharing and giving my opinion. Uh, just like when I was looking back, I didn't see when a deadline for, when he gave Solomon the task of building his house, or Noah building the ark. I'm just thinking, that's why I'm kind of quiet. I'm kind of thinking about what I want to say. I don't have any notes or anything. I'm just sharing with you guys the thoughts I had earlier today and on yesterday. Uh, I thought about the fact, like I said, it's not a deadline, but there will come a time when time is going to run out. So I guess if you want to look at that as a deadline, but as far as, I need this report on my desk by this time. I need this done by this time. It's like people are so demanding, with their deadlines. But I love the fact that God is so patient with us. He's long suffering. With love and kindness, He draws us. Like people, when you don't march to the beat of their drums, or don't meet their expectations, um, they kind of like write you off or want to get rid of you. But when it comes to God, think about it. He has not written us off. In all of these years, we have done things our own way and ignored Him. But He doesn't write us off. He doesn't throw us away. He doesn't say, "Oh, you missed your deadline." Uh, Blah blah blah. But there will come a time. There is a set time. But what I'm saying is, like, God doesn't like rush us. I mean, He is very patient with us. I think all of us can say, when we look back over our lives and the things we've done, those of us who are already in Christ, is like, man, God, thank you for being so patient with me. Thank you for not allowing me to die before getting it right with you. But listen, you still don't want to gamble with that. We don't know how much time we have. But again, when you just think about how God is so merciful and loving and patient, and does not, He doesn't even put that kind of pressure on us like the world does, like your job does, like your boss does, like your family does. It's like, even people give you ultimatums, but God doesn't do that. And when I was just thinking about, like I said, it came to me as deadlines. And of yes, of course, there will be a time when it's going to be too late. But when you compare the world's deadlines to what may be considered God's deadlines, it's such a vast difference. All I can say is, God is just so wonderful. He's so good to us. He doesn't put those kind of pressures on us, but he gives us time to repent. He gives us time to get it right. He gives us time uh to get the job done. Even when he give assignments, like Moses was the deliverer, it was 40 years before he actually went and delivered God's people. But man's deadline is like they want it right now. They want it today. And a lot of times their procrastination, you know how it is on the job. Some people's procrastination becomes your emergency. It's like, okay, well, you procrastinate, but now you're trying to make it an emergency for me because you didn't do your part. And then when they're feeling the heat from their upper management, they push it on you. It's like, you all know exactly what I'm saying, right? But I just love it that God does not put that kind of pressure or stress on us. So I just wanted to share and see, what you guys thought about that. Just sharing my opinion, about deadlines. Uh, and it's just we're a bunch of people busy doing nothing really. We set these sometimes people set these unattainable deadlines, or it's like not reality. It's like, and then a lot of times you're not given the resources you need to meet those deadlines. So anyway, I love the fact that God, when he gives you a job to do, he equips you, he gives you everything you need to get the job done. But not with man. That's not always the case. People want things on their time. And if you don't march to their beat, then they have an issue with you. But again, I'm so glad God is not like man. So anyway, that's my little spiel on that about deadlines. And God didn't rush things. He spoke the world into his existence, and then he rested on the seventh day. But man will work you in order to get things done. Well, you need to work around the clock. You need to work overtime to get this done. And a lot of times, I'm not going to even make mention of that because that'll go into a whole nother story. But anyway, I think you guys get basically what I'm saying here. If not, well, sorry, but I know what it ministered to me. So hopefully somebody will catch on to this. Now, let's go into using children. I wish I would have written this down, but yesterday it's like, I don't know what I was doing. But I hope you are not one of those parents that's guilty of using your children. Um, a lot of times people will, I'm going to give an example of something, of somebody, and I'm not going to use any names, but this is just an example. So I knew of a young lady. Um, I guess she had low self-esteem, and she wasn't like, a size 2, 4, 6, whatever, but she was a heavy set person, and she had a daughter. Okay, she's a single mother, had a daughter, and her daughter was absolutely a beautiful young lady. So she put her in beauty pageants, and I I thought, and God, forgive me if I'm wrong, but this is in my opinion, is that she wanted her daughter to be everything she was not. And she was basically living life through her daughter, because her daughter was very beautiful, and was in all kind of beauty pageants, won a lot of beauty pageants. But I see it so many times where parents use their children to live the dreams that they never could or did not get a chance to live, or be have a career that they didn't have to make them proud. But again, a lot of times I just see people using their kids to so they can have something or somebody to be proud of, oh, my child graduated, or my grandchild graduated with this. I know this man, every time I see him, it's always about his granddaughter. Okay, I've heard this story many times. I really don't want to hear this anymore. Not trying to be rude. Okay, the first time, all right, congratulations, that is wonderful. Okay, but every time I see you, I don't want to hear about your granddaughter. Again, I'm not trying to be rude. Just like a certain person I speak, every time I speak with this person is always about her grandkids. I don't want to hear about that. It's like people are living their lives through either their children or their grandchildren. Talking about God, we can talk about that all day long. If any man glory, let him glory in the Lord. If any man boast, let him boast in the Lord. And it's okay to hear about you or what you're doing, but I'm saying if every time we talk, it's always a conversation in regards to them, to me, that's your idol. And it just gets on my nerves. So anyway, back to stop using your kids. People will use their kids, especially I see this with a lot of single mothers, keep having all these babies, and now the kid is basically having to be an adult before his or her time, because you are putting the obligation of watching over the siblings because you doing your own thing, or maybe you're at work, but a lot of times you're doing your own thing, you're doing you, and then your child has not had a childhood because your child had to take care of the siblings because you weren't doing what you needed to do as a parent. And, you know, that is just not right. It's selfish. I think about all of the time. I always go back to Michael Jackson. A lot of times people see their children as their what's the word I'm thinking of? Cash. Their cash. I can't think of the word I want to say, but anyway, of their cash flow. I'll just say that, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Can't even think of it at this moment. But I'll also hear a lot of mothers. I remember I used to work with this young lady, and her son, she was pushing him. She wanted him to go into pro football so he can get her an Escalade. And this was many years ago. And her a house. It's like, stop using your children to get what you want. You important to your children for them. The children should not live for the parents, but the parents live for the children. But you have so many people, oh yeah, my children gonna take care of me. They're gonna buy me this. You're you're putting them in these athletic programs, or sending them to private school, or doing this or that, so you um can be considered, oh, you got it going on, or your child's in private school, so they're doing really good. And it's just a bunch of crazy stuff. But I just see it as people using their kids for their own selfish reasons. They may not see it as that. And again, this is just my opinion, but you have to evaluate yourself. But again, I'm just so tired of seeing children not being able to be a child and enjoy their lives as a child because parents have put so much pressure on them, or have given them a responsibility that should never be a child's responsibility. Um, Something else that just came to mind that misplaced. But anyway, again, if this, steps on your toes, repent, say ouch. If it's not you, then fine. But again, it's just something to think about. I just think we do it this such a disservice to children. Oh, yeah, back to my point about Michael Jackson. I do believe, again, people never act a certain way just to act a certain way. Something has happened just with Michael Jackson. He never really had a childhood. So I really believe that's why he built that Wonderland or whatever it was called. It was like he was a grown up, but he acted like a child because he never really had a childhood. Can you imagine that much pressure, working day in and day out and perfecting things? He, he never really enjoyed being a child because, that was a money maker for his I guess, dad. I don't know. Again, these are just my opinions. You have so many kids had to work while others were playing to help, take care of things in the household. Now, back in the day, like when my parents came up, they didn't have a choice, really. They had to be out in the field working and helping. But nowadays, I'm just seeing a whole different, it's like parents are pushing their kids to do things or become something because they want to live their lives through them or have something to be proud of. Uh, all of this is just vanity. But anyway, again, that's just my opinion, just sharing some things. And that's that. All right. Much love. Uh, all I can say is evaluate yourself. And if you're guilty of that, please don't do that to your child. Let your child be a child. Stop trying to push your dreams on them or trying to make them become something because you want to be considered as, successful or have arrived or whatever because your child have become a lawyer or a doctor or a realtor or whatever it is. They're making all this money, all for the wrong reason. That's that's not what life is about. We got to get out of that cycle there. All right. Anyway, just my thoughts. I guess I'm tired because probably what I'm saying is not making sense to you guys, but I just wanted to share that. All right. Take care.